Squirrels! Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very, very, very excited because we are about to watch the Aurelion Soul reveal. So excited that I haven't even done my regular introduction. I am very hyped. We have a lot to go through today. A lot to go through. But we're going to start with this because I am so hyped for this. Everything has just been so wonderful. And let's just get straight into it because I am really excited. Aurelion Soul. Here we go.
Heavens diminish without my attention.
He's 10 mana. 10 mana dragon. Oh, the art, it looks so sick. He has Fury, which we'll get into a bit later, and Spell Shield. Play. Invoke a celestial card that costs 7 or more. We'll get into what those could be. Round start. Create a random celestial card in hand. Okay. Round end. Your allies have 20 plus total power. And that's to level him up. Oh my goodness. Oh god, okay. So, first things first. This little symbol here means Fury. Fury means that when he kills something, he is granted 1/1 as well. On effects with units without Challenger, it's not as important, and it's not as important for a unit that costs 10 mana. But it's interesting. And Spell Shield is one that I'm not sure. If a unit has Spell Shield on it already, I'm assuming it's like Barrier in that it leaves after the round, but I'm not 100% sure of that. So we'll have to see. Either way, he survives, one spell from the turn he comes down, of course. I mean, we're going to have to go through the celestial cards that cost 7 or more first before we start really digging deep into him. But oh my god. Oh my god. And create a random celestial card in hand. There is 22 of them in total. So it's one of 22. Hey, it could be good. It could be, useless. Which is interesting. But obviously, the longer he goes on, we'll see. Anyway, let's keep going. I love his music. Oh my god.
This will be entertaining.
Your keyword, Fury. This is a dragon we haven't seen. We're gonna go through some dragons as well. This one is Envolius Vox. Great name. 6 mana, 5/6. Fury. When an ally with Fury kills an enemy for the first time, create a random dragon in hand. Okay, that's interesting. That is interesting, and we'll talk about this card in relation to the other dragons as well. But let's keep going. I am so hyped.
Pure starfire.
Oh my god.
The constellations bow to me.
Oh, I'm in the way. Hold on. Aurelion Soul. Play. 10 mana. 11/11. Invoke, yeah, the same. And round start, create a random celestial card in hand. Your celestial cards cost 0. That's interesting. I would have actually expected a bit more from a 10 mana champion. I would have thought that a 10 mana champion would level up and say pretty much like win the game 100%. So he just gets your celestial cards cost 0. Okay. Let's keep going.
Anyone for some stardust?
Hold the phone. The skies descend. Deal 15 to all enemies. Cost 2 less for each dragon or celestial ally You have oh my god. And this is a main deckable card. By the way, all enemies also refers to the enemy's nexus as well. Your nexus is an ally and their nexus is an enemy. So this is dealing 15 to face, if you are wondering. Obviously, it's pretty much overkill for every unit, but it could potentially kill a They Who Enjoy. You never know. I'm sure that situation will come up for someone and they will laugh. Okay, cost 2 less for each dragon or celestial ally you have. So if you have a board full of them like this, then this is going to be discounted by 12, so meaning it's going to cost 3 mana only. Obviously at 15 it's going to require you have something. Whoa, could you put this in a deck? I don't know, it'd be funny. I'm definitely going to try it out. Yeah, play it. Kill that Paro. Oh, it doesn't. It didn't deal 15. I thought... That is interesting. I thought it did deal 15 to the enemy nexus. That is interesting. I thought enemies counted as the nexus as well. But apparently not. Okay. There's Aurelion Soul. Now we're going to go on to Twitter and look at the dragon cards, and then we'll probably go to the celestial cards at the end. So let's go on over to Twitter. So here is Aurelion Soul and his associated cards and the like. We have another dragon here, the Infinite Mind Splitter. I have no idea which way we're going to do this, but let's go to the Infinite Mind Splitter. He's an 8 mana 8/8 play. Pick 2 enemies. Round start, stun them. That's pretty funny. He has Fury as well. It looks like all the dragons have Fury. Okay. Pick 2 enemies, round start, stun them. So essentially you just lock them out of the game. This one's going to be interesting. Just, could you ever play this in like a lockout deck? What if you were playing like Maokai this and you just try and, you know, just lock a game out instead? This I kind of like that whole idea. And so this would be somewhat interesting to try with a bunch of different theories and concepts, kind of like the one I just mentioned. Okay, yeah. I mean, that's fun. It's all fun. There's so many things running through my head right now. Let's get on to other things. Star Shaping. It's a 5 mana burst speed spell. Invoke a celestial card that costs 7 or more. Again, we'll go through that. Then heal an ally or your nexus 5. Okay. 5 mana to draw a 7+ card, then heal your ally or nexus 5. I don't think that this is really going to make it. It's just, you're paying 5 mana to like draw a card and then heal your nexus 5. I don't think that's that great, to be honest. Like, yes, we will go through the 7 or more celestial cards that are pretty good, but overall, I'm not feeling it. I'll be honest. I guess it's a way to help level up Aurelion Soul, and that, you know, the celestial cards have pretty big power, but other than that, I'm not too sure. It is Aurelion Soul's The Sky's Descent, so this is his signature spell, which is probably helpful because I don't think you would ever want to main deck this card, particularly because it doesn't do damage to the enemy nexus like I initially thought, because I'm fairly sure allies include your nexus, but maybe it doesn't. Maybe I'm mistaken about that. But yeah, deal 15 to all enemies. Yeah, I don't think you'd ever play this card if it's not dealing damage to the nexus, and but with Aurelion Soul, you know, it's essentially a one-sided board wipe that might come in useful in some cases. And Messenger's Sigil. Shuffle 5 the messages into your deck. Well, I don't know what the messengers is. Do I? Oh, maybe I do. Yes. that is a celestial card that we will come back to. Interesting. Whoa. Right, we'll have to obviously look at that in conjunction with the celestial cards. Maybe we'll go celestial cards first because it seems that we need to kind of go through them to understand what Aurelion Sol and all of this is doing. This is very, very hard to evaluate, but a lot is going on. Okay. Star shaping, I'm going to say straight up, it probably isn't that good. The first thing I've got to say about all of this, though, is remember Deep? This is kind of like what Deep was. You know, Deep was kind of like the big mind blown, like, this is so cool of the last one. And, you know, everyone thought, and on day one, everyone did play, I'm just going to play the biggest things that I can, and I'm going to fit them all into one big deck. But then, as Deep, you know, as we went on as time, and things got more competitive again, and, you know, we weren't just all playing for fun, you know, you cut most of the sea monsters out. You know, you ended up with the 6 mana Obliterate 1 as a 3 of. You ended up as Abyssal Eye as a 2 or a 3 of. And then maybe 1 Shipwreck Order, maybe. But you didn't necessarily need it. And it turned out that, you know, oh, well, if you play Nautilus with Atrocity, use Joel Hunters to get another sea monster. That's kind of all you really needed. A similar type of thing I feel is going to happen with Aurelion Sol here. In that there's a lot of these big things. But you only need to do 20 damage to the enemy's Nexus. So, do you really need all the big things? You don't need every single one of them. You need a couple, right? So, and you have to survive to that point as well. So, it's going to be fun, don't get me wrong, but you're not going to need all of these cards in the same deck. And some of them are going to be good, and some of them are not going to be good. And we're going to find out which one is which. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm interested at the very least. But let's go now onto the celestial cards and figure out what is happening over there. Give me one moment. I've got them all up here. But if we look at the Invoke cards first, just to remind ourselves again what we've already seen of the Invoke, because this is somewhat important to keep in mind as well. So we've got obviously the Spacey Sketcher, Priestess, Solari Priestess. Generally they're understated. Sketcher can only get ones that cost 3 or less. Priestess can only get ones of 4, 5 or 6. So we'll look at that as well. We know that Aurelion Sol and that other card, the Star Shaping, can only get ones that cost 7 or more. So we'll take a look at them. Here's one question I do have, though, and I think I know the answer to this question, but I could be wrong. Mounted Scry, of course, your celestial cards cost 1 less. Does that mean that Solari Priestess, if you've got a Scry down on the board, will get a 7 cost, will get 5, 6, and 7 because they all cost 1 less, or will they just cost 1 less when they're in the hand? I think it's the latter, and then they'll just cost 1 less in hand, but it's an interesting question, and obviously if it does work the other way, then, you know, we have to do the permutations in our head again and think about exactly what it means, because then Spacey Sketcher could also get the 4 mana cost ones, and, you know, it's a whole thing. But these are the cards. They're generally, you know, understated and, you know, okay at best, and really are reliant on the fact that you are getting the Invoke mechanic and getting the Celestial cards, which are thus. And we will zoom in and go through each of them. So, Spacey Sketcher. And I was so hyped, just waiting every hour to see what these cards were. By the way, I was going crazy. And still am kind of, you know, very interested in some of them and the ideas. So Spacey Sketcher can get any of these 8, which we see. I'm going to zoom out 1. Any of these first 8 up to 3 mana. And we'll just go through them one by one, I guess. So, Moonlight is 0 mana burst speed. Reduce the cost of a card in hand by 1. You know, it's not a big effect. You won't be... You know, you won't be like, yeah, I'm going to win the game because of this card. Yeah, but it can be a nice tempo swing, especially for Nightfall decks, you know, Moonlight, Nightfall, get it? Yeah, so it's pretty handy for Nightfall decks. It's, you know, a decent effect on a card, you know, getting something out in the mid-game a turn earlier is really pretty strong. You know, if you can get a card like, say, you know, you could potentially go Moonlight into that Dust Petal Dust to get Nocturne on like turn 2. I'm not sure if that is actually possible. But you know, you could do some crazy combos and get something out, you know, get a 5-drop out on turn 3, you know, something stupid. That could ultimately end up, you know, winning you the game. And so Moonlight, decent effect. Normally it's not going to win you a game, but potentially it could have some pretty big implications as well. And also for play around effects, you know, like say you do this on Deny. Say you have a 3-mana Deny in hand, they're like, oh, he's tapped under Deny, or whatever, it'd be Ruination, you know, and you've got an 8-mana Ruination, and they're like, oh, well, he can't ruinate me, so I'll develop, and then you do. You know, that could be pretty interesting as well, as kind of a high-level bluff game. The Serpent is crazy. You know, think about on turn 1, you play the, whatever it was called, the Skater thing, and you get the Serpent, which you will a decent amount of time. And you will then be able to deal 3 damage on turn 1 and still have a 2-1 challenger and a 1-1 down and be feeling pretty good about yourself. You do have to discard a card, but you know, if that's Jury Rig, then you're doing even more damage and you know, you're going crazy at that point. Then we've got Equinox, a card that I think it's actually really strong for this kind of ability, because the thing is, you're only ever going to pick this card when you really need it. You know, they've got Radiant Guardian. They've got They Who Endure. You're only ever going to pick this card against those decks. So it's not great. It's not versatile in any way, but it's really strong the times that it does hit and could literally win you the game, which for a 1-mana spell is pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty good. So this is actually one I've got a bit of a problem with because of that. Because it's so polarized in its nature, whereas, you know, a lot of the other ones are kind of like, meh, okay. So often won't be a great choice, but you know, when it does hit, will just be insane. Next up, the Charger is a 4-1 Overwhelm. I mean, again, if you can get 2 attacks in with this kind of inspired me when I first saw this one. I was like, I wonder if you can make aggro Celestial cards. You know, use that and get a bunch of the small ones, because if you look at all these small units, you know, they're pretty interesting here in what they do and could be pretty strong. Moonglow is our next one. This is probably the weakest one, I would say, of all of them, perhaps. I can't remember all of them, but of the ones that I can't remember, this one is fairly weak. Grant an ally 0/2 and spell shield. Because it's slow speed, you're just begging your opponent, remove me. And, you know, if they do remove it, then you're in pretty big trouble. And because it's slow speed, it's just, and the effect just isn't good enough, I think, to warrant doing anything like that. The Messenger. Now, the Messenger Sigil. Shuffle 5 the messengers into your deck. This is the Messenger. So you will, for 1 mana burst speed, shuffle 5 of a 2-mana 2/2 when I'm summoned, draw 1 into your deck. Is that worth it? Ultimately, I'd say no. It might seem like it is, right? Like, oh, you know, I can just draw and then draw and draw and draw and draw. But I don't think spending card slots and 1 mana to essentially put a bunch of 2-mana 2/2s into your deck is really that worth it. Unless there became like a big draw synergy, like, you know, I mean, I know Twisted Fate Messenger. Okay, that might be the one. You know, if you could just go Messenger. I'll grant that, yeah, if you have a draw synergy like Twisted Fate or anything else, then maybe you would play it. But otherwise, I don't think that is really making the cut for like putting this in a deck. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm terribly wrong. But I just think that you've got better things to do with card slots than play this. Although, you know, it's pretty good for like Nightfall enablers, perhaps. Although the Messenger doesn't have Nightfall himself. If he did, then that would be, you know, pretty strong in that kind of Nightfall deck. But he doesn't, so we'll move on. Crescent Strike is stun to enemies. Slow speed, again, when this hits the right time, it's kind of like Equinox, like, it's okay, but you've got to think you're going to probably play an Invoke card, unless you're playing the, I have to zoom out, unless you're playing Behold the Infinite, which is burst speed, you're going to pass priority back to your opponent. So, Crescent Strike, if they just attack after you've played that, well, this card is now useless. Because I assume that you were hoping to stun 2 enemies on that attack. Obviously, if they develop again, you can do. But this one actually also seems pretty weak for that reason. The fact that you have to press priority back. And, like, what matchups are you really thinking ahead about? I'm going to have to stun 2 enemies in 2 turns' time. Like, maybe, but I don't know. It seems like this one is okay at best. The Joker. Evasion. As you can see, so a 3-mana 3/3 elusive, and again, this is where I was talking about with these 3 cards here, and also somewhat the Messenger as well, and also Moonlight, like these here like are pretty aggressive and pretty decent. Compare this, obviously the obvious comparison is Solitary Monk, and then it's a 3-mana 3/3, but you don't have to recall your entire board. So really nice stat line on an elusive unit. Just really solid card to have, particularly if you are in any sort of aggressive deck. And I will be trying to build, I think, a Celestial Aggro deck, probably to not that much success. But on we go. Written in Stars, not the stars, Written in Stars, is a 4-mana burst speed, draw a champion, reduce its cost by 1, and grant it 2/2. Now, some people, I remember watching when this one came out, some people like, this is completely busted. Who the hell thought this was a good idea? The game is gone, whatever. You have, I think it's something like a 13% chance of drawing any one of the Celestial cards. Now, thing is, some champions are completely amazing with this. Other champions are like, you know, it's fine. You know, it's not going to win you the game. You know, a 0-mana 3/3 Teemo is fine. But it's not winning you the game outright. And so for that reason, and obviously if you've already got a champion on the board, then you have to wait for your champion to die, and it's like, it is what it is, and they're going to know you've played this, so they might not want to go your champion. But here it is, Written in the Stars, and it's a bit slow. Obviously it's 4 mana. It's kind of recouping some of that by reducing the cost by 1 and granting it 2/2, but it is quite a slow play at burst speed. And the thing is, it's kind of, as I mentioned, a highly synergistic card, like certain champions like Braum or Zed or maybe even Lee Sin or Fizz. This card is like, whoa, this is amazing. Other champions, it's like, it's fine. It's fine. And the thing is, because you can never reliably get this card, you can somewhat reliably get this card, because of course now we're onto the ones that the Solari Priestess can get in the 4, 5, or 6, and we've gone past what the Sketcher can get. With Priestess you can somewhat reliably get this, perhaps, but with the others you're really not reliably going to get this, and as I say, it's kind of synergistic. So you can't really build a deck around I'm gonna get Written in the Stars and give it a buff. It's like a nice tool in perhaps like an all-in Braum deck or Fiora deck beforehand, but Hush also exists, so it's like, yeah. That would counter it pretty hard. The Traveler, play, invoke. So this is one, obviously, this is a card that I think if you are given a bunch of other bad options, you'll just pick the Traveler. Hey, it's like a solid unit, 3/4 for 4. It's okay, it's not great. And, I'm just going to invoke again. I don't think this would ever be your first choice, but if you're given 2 options that you don't really want, then I think you'd pick the Traveler. That's just always a solid option. Meteor Shower. Deal 4 to an enemy and 1 to another. Now, when I looked at this card, I thought similarly to enemy, I think this includes the Nexus. I think. In which case, of course, this is Decimate, but with an extra ability as well. And it's also slow speed. So if that is the case, as I said, this aggro Celestial deck perhaps is coming together, even though Celestial, I think, is more so, a sort of control with Aurelion Sol and the like. And so we'll see. If this does hit the Nexus, then that's quite a nice effect. If it can't, then this is a lot worse than I initially thought. But dealing 4, there isn't a lot that can deal 4. And again, even if it can't hit the Nexus, if you're coming up against a Caretaker, is it Caretaker? No, Neverglade Collector. If you're playing against Neverglade Collector and you see this, you'll probably pick this and just kill it, because dealing with 4 health can be somewhat troublesome. Next up is the Warrior, very standard 5/5 challenger. Not terrible. Again, just like a decent option, but nothing that you're gonna go crazy about. Like, this is the thing. I think a lot of people think that oh, this is broken. The fact is, you're gonna have to play like an understated unit at the start to even get this. At which point, is a 5/5 challenger really worth the payoff? Some would say no. Next, Comets is another one of those very situational, like obliterate an enemy, like you know, if they've got Anivia, if they've got Ledros, then, you know, hey, comets. Oh, great. Comets. You know, I needed comets to obliterate it so that it wouldn't come back. But otherwise, you know, this is just a very bad vengeance. Being slow speed and obliterate and kill for most things is relatively the same, but it does stop some certain things like Rekindler or whatever. Then we've got Golden Sister, which is the 6 mana unit, which is when summoned, summon Silver Sister. Silver Sister is here. They're both 4/3s. Silver Sister has Elusive. Golden Sister has Lifesteal. This one I think is one of the stronger ones. Obviously because, you know, getting 2 4/3 bodies for 6 mana, pretty good. Both with keywords as well, also pretty good. Thing is, one's Lifesteal, which is trying to obviously keep you alive. The other is Elusive, which is, you know, generally more aggressive. So, I mean, obviously it's the sun and moon, right? They're doing opposite things. Like one's aggressive, one's defensive, and it's like that kind of limits the power level a bit of this because you kind of want your cards to be heading towards the same thing. You'd rather do one thing really well rather than, you know, a bunch of things okay. And so it's okay. It's pretty solid, to be honest. Like a 6 mana, get 2 bodies of 4/3, you know, 8/6 worth of stats. It's just a fairly good card, but it's not crazy or anything. It's just fine. Next up is Cosmic Inspiration. Oh, and that ends, by the way, the ones that the Solari Priestess can get. And now we are into Aurelion Souls and Star Shapings cards. God, there's a lot to go through today. This video is going to be long. I'm glad you are sticking with me. So, Cosmic Inspiration. If you behold a celestial card, give all allies everywhere +2/2 and restore spell mana. So some of you might be thinking this is absolutely crazy. It's not. Think about Tusk Raider if you need to believe me that this card is not crazy. Like, it's fine, but the thing is, I mean, how long are these games going? How long are your games going that you think that this card starts hitting like real potential? Maybe what, turn like 11, 12 is when you start feeling it, unless you somehow manage to get it out on turn 4 with full spell mana and refill your spell mana. Like, that would be the ideal. And if you can, then it's really good. But if you're playing this on turn 7, then it's probably not worth it. So if you can get this out early and have the board presence, which you probably won't because the Invoke cards don't have a lot of board presence, on turn, you know, 4 and have full spell mana, like, I don't know. It's just, it's fine. It gives all your board 2/2 as well. So if you do have some board presence, it's pretty good. But it's not crazy or anything, I don't think either. Again, like, you can't build a deck around this because you don't know what you're gonna get. And that's kind of the whole point, right? Now we get into some of the big boy units, though. The Destroyer is a 7 mana 7/7 Overwhelm and Spell Shield. And when I'm summoned, grant me 1/0 for each celestial card you've played this game. So obviously kind of wanting you to play celestial cards, but doesn't necessarily need it because 7 mana 7/7 Overwhelm is still pretty good. Just a pretty good finisher overall. And this is what I'm talking about with Aurelion Soul. Like, this card might end the game anyway, like on after 2 attacks. Like, straight up. Like, you might not need, like, and that's the game potentially over on turn 9. So if the game is over on turn 9, you never got to play Aurelion Soul. So do you need Aurelion Soul? I don't know. Tomb of the Universe, 8 mana. If you behold a celestial card, obliterate all units. I think this one is meant to say enemy units, and the translation is a bit wrong on this. Obliterate all, I think it's enemy units with 3 or less power. You're on what? At least turn 5. When would you need this? This is one that I think, again, you don't necessarily need. And in general, I'd say that the units seem a bit better than the spells. But anyway, 8 mana, the Immortal Fire, Elusive. 8 mana, 6/5. 6/5 Elusive, 8 mana, you know, not great, but also has the summon, grant me 1 for each celestial card you've played this game. And the first time I would die, fully heal me instead. That's pretty good. That's, in fact, really good. And as I say, with Aurelion Soul, how many times, like, if they don't have an Elusive, which they might not, how do you end, like, this card's nuts. This card is just nuts, like, straight up nuts. Forget about it. Like, this is the one that you'll probably want, I think. Unless you're facing an elusive deck, of course. But yeah, this could end the game long before you need Aurelion Sol. And that's pretty good. Supernova, 9 mana. Slow. If you behold a celestial card, obliterate 2 enemies. Again, 9 mana, very slow. Obliterate 2 enemies. The difference between obliterate and kill, not very good. Or not that big of a difference. You have to have a celestial card in hand as well. I don't know. I'm just not sure about that one as well. Like, there seems to be just better options. You know, sometimes these cards will come, these 3 here will come into use, but I think a lot of the time they might not. The Great Beyond, 9 mana, 8/8, elusive, Fury, Spell Shield. So obviously the Spell Shield is pretty nice, and the fact that it's kind of protecting itself. You got elusive as well, and Fury, so if it kills something, I'm not sure how often you're going to kill something. Again, has the 1+ for each celestial card you've played this game, and I am a dragon! Which will become somewhat important as we go back and look at the dragon cards. But it just wants you to know that it is a dragon. This one just seems a bit worse than the Immortal Fire, I guess. That's kind of my only real thing to say about that. Like, Fury on elusive doesn't really matter. Like, who cares? The Spell Shield is pretty nice, you know, having 8 attack, but obviously the Immortal Fire will probably have, you know, potentially 10 attack and, you know, doesn't die the first time. Crazy. This card's crazy. Living Legends. 10 mana. Burst speed. Sofort. Fill your hand with random fleeting celestial cards. Fill your mana. Now this again looks crazy, right? But the more you think about it, the less it's crazy. Like, your ideal hand is actually getting a bunch of Moonlights so that you can reduce the card of something else, so that then you can actually bother playing these cards. Like, yes, it's cool. It's 10 mana. It's cool. You're filling your hand with a bunch of stuff, and that's really cool. But they are fleeting, so you've got 1 turn to play them. And what, you'll probably play 3, maybe. Probably units. Like as I say, you want a bunch of Moonlights ideally. That's kind of your ideal. But that's probably not going to happen. And I'm not sure if you can only get one of, you know, one of them, or if you can get, you know, it says random, so I assume you can just get multiple of the same one, but I don't know. So yeah, it could be pretty good. Like, obviously could win you the game. But the thing is with these cards, it's like, if you've got to this point in the game, what is your opponent doing? Like, what are they doing during these turns that is allowing you to just play these units with understated and not punishing you? Like, this is kind of the thing, right? If you want to, by the way, if you want to rank up on day 1, just play burn aggro and you'll probably win every single game. And then the Scourge, 10 mana, Challenger, 10/10. When I'm summoned, grant me 1 attack for each celestial who play this game, same as everything else. Attack, give other allies +2/2 and overwhelm this round. So not itself, which is somewhat disappointing. I mean, like, Challenger, I mean, at this point of the game, like, none of this really matters. Giving the other board overwhelm is nice, but it requires you to have a board, which I don't know, again, what is your opponent doing? Like, you play this, they ruinate, you lose? Like, what? This is the thing. Some of these bigger celestial cards I'm not into as much. Like, they're fine, like, but you're not going to want a lot of them, I don't think. And Aurelion Sol is getting you 1 of these 7 cost or more. As I say, the units, I mean, the Immortal Fire is pretty good, don't get me wrong. And you'll have a pretty good chance of getting the Immortal Fire from that. And that could win you the game. So could the Destroyer as well. And the Scourge potentially as well, if you do have a board with Overwhelm. Any of these 4 could win you the game, but it's not crazy good. You're having to play a 10 mana card already to get there. So yeah, the overall thing, I'm kind of a bit confused about. Could you see those cards there? Was I blocking them out? I hope not. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. I don't know about Aurelion Sol, to be honest. I thought, honestly, seeing him 10 mana, that whole thing, like, he just looks so badass and cool. I would have thought that this just said, win the game. Like, your celestial cards costing 0 for a level up. It's like, is that really doing much? He's got Fury. If he had Overwhelm, I'd be much more hyped. I'm a bit disappointed. I saw those Celestial cards. I was expecting you'd just win the game, and yet you haven't. I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, I'm going to try it. Everyone's going to try it, right? But I'm not sure how to build the deck, I'll be honest. So he's got... I mean, your allies have 20 plus total power, so you don't even have to... Well, you do kind of... No, you don't have to play a Celestial deck, really. Because he's going to play and get one himself. And then you're going to create a random Celestial card in hand. So he's more flexible than you might think. How do you get 20 plus total power? I mean, these dragons have quite a lot, as you can see. I mean, you could just pair him with a big They Who Endure. You could just, you know, go crazy with, I don't know, a bunch of stuff. 20 plus power. So he's 10 already. So you only need 10 else. Or your allies. Does this include him? If it doesn't, then that's pretty bad. If it does, then, you know, that's pretty easy. That's going to be a big... Does allies mean him? I'd assume so. Or else it would say your other allies. I'm going to assume it includes him. In which case, you know, it's not that hard. 10 power is like what? Like this thing? Like, it's like, wow, is that easy? I don't know. It seems so slow. Like, won't other decks just run over you? I don't know. I really don't know. I'm going to try it, obviously, but, like, maybe you need this card to make sure they don't run over you. Maybe you do. Yikes. Pick 2 enemies, round start, stun them. Anyway, I don't know. I really don't know. So now we have to go through more cards, which are the dragon cards. Here they are. So here we go. Fury. When I kill a unit, grant 1/1. We've got Herald of the Dragons. 2 mana 1/1. Dragon allies cost 1 less. Obviously, being a 2 mana 1/1 is, again, pretty damn slow. I don't know about that card either, to be honest. Like, you might play it in a dragon deck. Some of the dragons look okay, which we will see just here. White Flame Protector, 3 mana 4/4 Fury. The thing is with Fury, like, it's fine, but it's not crazy. It's not crazy at all. If you can get this out on turn 3 with this, then that's pretty nice. 3 mana 4/4 we've seen before. Hey, that's pretty good. But otherwise, I don't think that this is too crazy. Same with Fused Firebrand. Like, it's got Spell Shield and Fury. 5 mana 5/5. It's fine. It's not crazy or anything. This one is the good one, which is a 5 mana 4/5 Screeching Dragon Challenger Fury. This is what you want. You know, you kill a 1/1 or whatever, you get the stats back. It's like that's your ideal. But this is in Demacia, which is really interesting because I wouldn't have put Demacia as the dragon region, but here we are. Shows what I know, which is nothing, by the way. This one seems pretty good. Pretty solid. This is actually another Remembrance card as well, don't forget, because it's a 5 mana Demacia card. It's a competitor to Swiftwing Lancer, like a genuine like competitor. Would you rather have the health or would you rather have the last breath? Would you rather have Fury or the last breath and the 5/4 or the 4/5? Like, that's going to be a decision for people to make, and it's probably going to be somewhat meta dependent on how many things with 5 health you need to kill, or if 4 is just where, you know, people are like, oh yeah, you only need to kill things with 4 health, so this is fine. That's going to be really interesting. But obviously with Fury, if you kill one thing, then, you know, you get to have the 5 attack anyway, and you can do that on the 5 attack. So Screeching Dragon, pretty competitive card, pretty good card, again, a good Remembrance card. And finally, Dragon's Clutch. Now this is a reason to play dragons. This is obviously similar to Porosnex in that it's a 3 mana burst speed spell that can give Dragon Allies 1/1, but you also get the chance of drawing 2 different dragons as well if you want. It's not both, it is an aura effect, of course. That would be crazy if it was both. But this is really interesting. Obviously Aurelion Sol is a dragon himself as well. So draw 2 different dragons or grant Dragon Allies 1/1. So you can use this as a combat trick. You can use this as refilling your hand towards the end of the game. It seems pretty good in that it's nice and versatile. And, you know, if you build a dragon deck around it, I'm not sure if we've seen all the dragons yet. There might be some coming tomorrow as well. So we'll have to see if there is enough dragons to make this playable or not. My first impression is with just these ones that we've seen, there's probably better things to do in the game, but I could be wrong. In like, you know, the fact that like the difference between a 5/5 and like a 6/6 is pretty minimal. Like if there's more challenger dragons or whatever, then that would be pretty nice. And there was the one celestial card that really wanted us to know that it was also a dragon. This video is gonna be about what, 40 minutes long at this point, so I think I am gonna end it here. It's crazy. I'm actually tired. Like I'm tired because like I've just been bubbling with energy all day, and then I'm really confused about. I was so hyped yesterday, seeing all the celestial cards, and I was really excited for it. I really did think he was gonna say something crazy, like have a really hard level up, but just say win the game, or you know, something crazy. Like he was gonna have some crazy effect, but his level up condition it's a bit underwhelming. I won't lie. Celestial cards costing 0, like mana doesn't matter at that point. You know, you're already past turn 10. What are you spending your mana on if they cost 0 anyway? It's kind of my point. Like, what are you spending on anyway? Like, mana doesn't matter. Who cares? So yeah, bit confused by that, but we shall see. We shall see. I think that's gonna do it. We've been through Aurelion Soul. We've been through the celestial cards. We've been through the dragons. We've been through the invoke cards. I'm gonna build some kind of decks. I'm sure we all are gonna build lots of decks. Let me know what you think might be the best way to play it. There's so many different things to think about that it's kind of overwhelming. Thank you for watching so much to this kind of podcast rant. Tomorrow, I think the rest of the cards will be revealed. You know, probably the ones that are like in Noxus, Noxus, like PNZ, Demacia. You know, any region that we haven't seen any cards from. We'll probably get a couple like extra cards as well, and I'm guessing they'll reveal them tomorrow, and I'll go through all of them, of course, and then I'll probably also make a video about different decks I have already sort of theory crafted away and, you know, thought yes, this will be a great deck. And I'll probably do 2 videos showing you them as well, but this is going to end this behemoth of video. My name's been Chris. Thank you so much for watching. Have a really nice day.